After more than 50 years accumulating success stories, People's Bank has been awarded Bank of the Year in Sri Lanka for second year running. The company's chairman, Mr. Hemasiri Fernando, joins us today to discuss Sri Lanka's banking industry. Welcome.
Thank you.
People's Bank is one of the two state-owned banks in Sri Lanka that account for over 35% of the country's banking assets. In which ways is being state-owned an advantage to your customers?
The answer is very simple. We are backed by the government of Sri Lanka, and in all our activities we maintain highest level of transparency and accountability. The fact that our accounts are audited by the Auditor General of Sri Lanka will also add to the customer confidence. We are one of the only two banks having a balance sheet in excess of 1 trillion Sri Lankan rupees, with a customer base of 12 million out of a population of 21 million in my country.
Last year you launched the Yes account to encourage the younger generation to preserve the environment. How do you assess its impact 8 months down the line?
It is surely one of the most exciting accounts we launched last year. The objective and the importance of the account is on empowering young executives achieve their dreams. This is the first part of the ambitious project to make the People's Bank the greenest bank in Sri Lanka. We also launched the Yes Green season to mark International Youth Day, which gathered massive interest among youth.
The GDP in Sri Lanka has been expanding since 2003. Tell us about this favorable economic situation.
Sri Lanka's GDP grew at 6.4% last year, among the other sectors such as agriculture, industry and services. Tourism exceeded expectations to welcome 1.8 million arrivals and a growth of 18%, and Sri Lanka's economic situation has certainly improved, with the macro focus now being on accelerated and aggressive development. The country continues to gain immense support from funding organizations, including the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank. There is also a tremendous emphasis on education and improving IT literacy in the country, which has also been a contributory factor. The creation of an entrepreneurial spirit is also being pursued aggressively, making micro and SMEs an integral contributor to the national development strategy.
How much has the banking industry in Sri Lanka developed in the last year?
This is an industry that has developed impressively on all fronts, posting healthy profitability and improved performance in all subsectors. Both licensed commercial banks and non-bank financial institutions have recorded accelerated growth in asset and profitability. The rapid acceleration in loans and advances backed by low interest rate regimes and the availability of relatively short-term funding from domestic and foreign sources has augmented the good performance seen in this sector. The industry has maintained adequate liquidity, and the capital position continued well above the minimum regulatory requirement as well, and profitability for the industry showcased a growth of 12%. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka continued to introduce new prudential policy measures. Capital adequacy ratio for the industry stands at 14%, well above the minimum requirement of 10%, while the core capital ratio stands at 12%, also above the minimum requirement of 5%. The banking sector continued to expand its asset base with increased demand for credit from both the state and private sectors. The total assets recorded for the banking sector surpassed 7 billion Sri Lankan rupees milestone. Total loans and advances recorded an increase of 21%, driven by a higher demand for credit due to lower interest rates, and reflected primarily in the construction, infrastructure, trading, and financial and business services. Deposits the main source of funds for lending activities, displayed a growth of 15% to stand at Sri Lankan rupees 5.4 trillion, using a combination of technology and strategic infrastructure development. The banking industry increased accessibility to 3,548 branch locations in the first 8 months of 2015.
The Sri Lankan Prime Minister is looking to base the country's economy in more export-oriented economy to compete with cities like Singapore, Dubai. Which role does People Bank play in this government strategy?
Very simply, in a nutshell, People's Bank is ready for the macro growth prospects in line with the thinking of our Prime Minister, Honorable Ranil Wickremesinghe. There is a concerted focus on developing value-added exports by the state, and this is a focus that People's Bank has been encouraging among Sri Lankan exporters for decades. Our next step is to now partner those industries with potential, including IT, business process, outsourcing, knowledge, process outsourcing, agriculture, logistics, and value-added product and services, not only to add the financial partnership, but also to add technical, marketing, and know-how capabilities into the equation. People's Bank is keen to continue partnering the state in its strategy of developing Sri Lanka into an export-oriented economy, especially considering Sri Lanka's strategic geographical location. We are also very keen on pursuing the country's strategy of public-private partnership, which we believe is the ideal solution to maximizing funding.
How is 2016 looking for the bank? Which projects do you have lined up for this year?
This year, we will be rolling out digitalization program, beginning with each district having at least one branch completely digitalized by the end of 2016. By the end of 2020, People's Bank will be the most digitalized bank in the country and will be transformed into a fully pledged digital banking solution provider. My overall vision is to make People's Bank the #1 bank in Sri Lanka, and I do believe the strategies we have infused over the last few years is ensuring that we certainly make progress on the path. We will be further leveraging on our assets, augmenting our brand equity in order to meet our short, medium, and long-term goals. We will focus market share growth. Our micro and SME development initiatives are also being pursued towards an aggressive growth plan. We plan to expand our ATM network to 2,500 ATMs and our credit card base to 1 million within the next 2 years. The expansion plans we have is to reach beyond Sri Lanka, and we have already begun exploring possibility of taking the bank's specialized expertise abroad this year. Having examined some market entry opportunities available overseas and receiving favorable feedback, we are ready with this amazing team of professionals to expand branches in overseas countries such as Maldives, Myanmar, Bangladesh, Vietnam, and Cambodia.
Thank you very much for joining us today, and good luck in the future.
Thank you very much.